नहमदुहु व नुसल्ली व नुसल्लिमु अला सय्यदिना व मौलाना मुहम्मदिन रसूलिन नबिय्यिल अमीनिल मकीनिल हनीनिल करीमिर रऊफिर रहीम अम्मा बाद फ़अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम अश्शम्सु वल क़मरु बिहुस्बान सदक़ल्लाहुल अज़ीम अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या सय्यदी या रसूलल्लाह व अला आलिका व अस्हाबिका या सय्यदी या हबीबल्लाह। Distinguished, honorable ulama-e karam, scholars, academics, and respected guests, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is both an honor and a privilege for me to attend this gathering and to say a few words on this important conference. One issue that affects every community is the division that we face, which is quite apparent. And the concept of moonsighting is very close to the hearts and minds of Muslims across the globe. Moonsighting is not just a technical matter. It affects our worship, our religious, social and spiritual lives in various ways. I'd like to begin by thanking the organizers for bringing this conference together. When I was reading my introduction in the beautiful program which was produced, it's all about diversity and inclusion, and there is no doubt that this gathering and the gathering of speakers is also diverse in many ways. You have representatives, in fact, the director of the New Crescent Society here, you have representatives of Wifaqul Ulama here, and other organizations as well. And this is the beauty of bringing various thoughts together to discuss this important issue. Whilst this issue is often associated with the Indian subcontinent, it reaches far beyond to the Maghreb, to North Africa, the Arab world, Europe and the United States. You travel around, on the taxi rank, people are talking about moonsighting. In our front rooms, moonsighting. When I go to do my shopping, people look at me and young girls say to their moms, "Mom, there's the moon man who comes on Noor TV." Everybody talks about moonsighting. But remember, this is truly a global Muslim concern. It is not an Indian, Pakistani or Bangladeshi issue. And those scholars, and I say honorable scholars, when they write books or small leaflets, they say this is only a problem of the scholars of the Indian subcontinent. This is factually incorrect. As we are gathered here in Bristol today, it's important to acknowledge the significance of this matter and the impact of your moon sighting decisions. This doesn't just affect one family or two families. As we are in Bristol, according to the 2021 census, there were around 31,776 Muslims living in Bristol, making up around 6.7% of the city's population. The the real number, as we know, is likely to be much higher. So when we talk about moon sighting, we are discussing an issue which impacts the lives of thousands of Muslims just in this city of Bristol. And you could imagine the impact of it across the UK. So let us not take this issue as lightly as possible. It is a serious issue. It divides families. It impacts our worship. So let me move on to look at the theme which is assigned to me. Why does conflict exist? And I would like to say and make an appeal today at this conference. If we are really genuine of addressing the conflict, one, we have to understand why the conflict exists, but we have to address the conflict as well. So let me begin by making an appeal today that let's move away from moon fighting and let's return to actual moon sighting. It may sound a bit funny, but it reflects a sad reality, brothers and sisters, that we spend hours and hours, years and years talking about moon sighting, fighting about moon sighting, pointing our fingers at the scholars of Islam, saying it's his fault and his fault. Yet, do we actually do moon sighting? No. So let us now move away from this mindset of moon debates, moon arguments, moon wars, moon fighting, and come to moon sighting. The more moon sighting we will do, we will actually begin to see the crescent moon here in the UK, subject to you look or sight for the moon on the 29th of the UK. But if you are looking for the crescent moon on the 29th, which is imported from Hawaii, from Mexico, from Karachi, from Jhelum, from Rawalpindi, you will be looking on the wrong date. And then you will make all these bizarre statements saying, Wallah, it always is cloudy in this country, the crescent can never be seen. And then the New Crescent Society will show you the data to prove that the crescent moon can be seen. So nobody is going to listen to my assumptions, they will go on the evidence-based approach. So the first thing is, let's do moon sighting. The other main conflict which arises is that people blindly follow other countries under the assumption that that country has got some kind of telescope and they are 24/7 watching the moon, and whatever they say is so accurate that we have to follow what they have said. And the country which is followed and is very fashionable to follow is Saudi Arabia. In spite of Saudi Arabia making many pleas through their imams of Haram that the people living in the West should not follow Saudi Arabia and should follow and devise their own local and regional moon sighting systems, still people follow Saudi Arabia. And a saying in Urdu is, "Tu maan ya na maan, main tera mehman." This is exactly what happens. The Saudis say, don't follow us, but still there are some people who want to follow Saudi Arabia. But if we do follow Saudi Arabia, try to understand what is their moon sighting criterion. Without, in English they say deep dive, without having a deep dive, whatever country you want to follow, try to understand their moon sighting system. So Saudi Arabia's moon sighting methodology, brothers and sisters, has evolved multiple times. People think they've just got one system and they are following that absolutely from day one. That is not true. It is essential to study what is their moon sighting system. So from the year 1419, they had one moon sighting criterion, and that was that if the age of the moon at the point of sunset was 12 hours, they would announce the day. Then this system changed. The second criterion came in, and that criterion lasted from 1420 to 1422. And that system was that at the point of the Mecca horizon, if the moon is born before sunset, if the moon sunset was after sunset, they will announce. Then this changed again. The most current system that prevails in Saudi Arabia is started from 1423. And there are two conditions of this: that the moon has to be born before sunset, and secondly, the sunset has to be after sunset, that you have a positive lag time. That is the crux of the Saudi moon sighting system. I want you to note this. In all of these three evolving moon sighting criterions, none of them have actual moon sighting in it. None of them. All of them are based on the birth of the new moon or positive lag time. So my dispute and the disputes of those who follow moon sighting is that when the announcement of Saudi Arabia is made, it doesn't say that we are announcing the month of Zulhijjah or Shawwal or Ramadan because the moon has been born before sunset and the moon set is after sunset. It says the moon has been sighted, and yet there could be no sighting whatsoever. And as our previous speaker, Allama Sayyid Zafrullah Shah Sahib, has set out, in the case of Shawwal, you will see that there was no chance of the crescent moon to be sighted in Saudi Arabia. It was just over 4 hours. In the history of all of the observations of moon sighting, a 4-hour moon cannot be sighted. And yet the claim was that the moon was sighted. This is where the conflict starts. And even here in Bristol, some of the statements I read, when you look at their criterions, it's something else. And when the statements are released, they are something else. They claim sighting when sighting could not be possible. So there was no sightings anywhere in the world, but millions of Muslims still followed the Saudi declaration. And bless my Pakistani TV channels, they announced that the moon has been sighted in Saudi Arabia. They don't take the trouble of doing the deep dive to actually explain that this is not sighting. This is actually according to the Saudi moon sighting. And that's why when we and these honorable ulama make their deliberations on the board and Noor TV, we actually explain what the moon sighting criterion is as well. The second source of conflict and dispute is the misuse of astronomical calculations. And this causes more misinformation, and it leads to misinformed reliance on astronomical data, our own self-created interpretation. And I can say this, that brothers and sisters, it's become very fashionable for the past 2 or 3 years for some people to suddenly, overnight, become the Khwarizmis and the Al-Barunis overnight. And they wake up in the morning and they make all these various statements about astronomical calculations. And I say, let us be clear. Astronomical calculations are only predictions. Predictions in Urdu, peshan-goi, not certainties. They are zanni, they are not qati. No observatory in the entire world, I am not talking about just the Royal Observatory here in the United Kingdom, and you have got someone who actually works for the observatory, Brother Imad, and he can correct me if I'm wrong. No observatory in the world claims 100% accuracy in predicting actual moon sighting with naked eyes. These predictions are useful, yes, they are helpful, yes, but they are not definitive. They are not conclusive. They are not qati. So for those in Bristol or anywhere who may disagree with me, I issue a very friendly and polite challenge. Please obtain a statement from the observatory or any other major observatory in the world confirming that their lunar predictions are conclusive for moon sighting. You will find that no such guarantee exists. And I want to say this in Urdu. अपनी तरफ से तशरीह न करें फल्कियाती कवायद और फल्कियाती असूल की. ऑब्जर्वेटरी से लिख कर ले आए कि हमारा ये जो फल्की हिसाब है रोयत हिलाल के लिए ये कतई है, मैं आपकी बात मान लूंगा. अपनी तरफ से बात ना करें. ये रॉयल ऑब्जर्वेटरी है, इससे लिख कर मैंने उनसे पूछा, I have asked them, and they have said that this is a prediction. My dear brothers, just do some research. The current observatory's criterion is by Dr. Bernard Yollop. Never mind going on to page 2 or page 3 or page 4. Even on the cover sheet of the actual principle, which was published in 1997 and updated in 1998, he says that this note gives a prediction for local sighting. Prediction, not conclusive. And then we have to ask, what is the objective of astronomical calculations? The objective of astronomical calculations is to go out and do moon sighting to test the calculations. What have we done? Or may I add, what has some of our scholars done? They may be in minority, but they have tried to impose this system on us. They have changed the objective of astronomical calculations. And even Dr. Bernard Yollop in his principle says that this is to assist people for making the observation. Making the observation. You cannot make the decision on this. You go out, you observe, and this data will assist you in making this credible that your observation is accurate or not. But what people have done, they have transformed the objective of of calculations. And brothers, never in the history of Islam has our classical scholars, we have the leading scholars here, please ask them. The 4 schools of thought, the scholars have never said abandon actual moon sighting. When people say rely on astronomical calculations only, the hidden problem or the most apparent problem in this is that it abandons moon sighting. This is why the conflict and confusion starts. None of the scholars, whether it's Imam Azam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Hanbal, Imam Shafi, may Allah be pleased and shower His blessings upon all of them, none of them have said abandon moon sighting and just follow astronomical calculations. even in the world of the astronomers. Those astronomers who have given us this knowledge, and alhamdulillah, their knowledge and their theories and their ideas are still being taught in Western universities across the globe. Khwarizmi, whether it be Al-Biruni, whether it be Al-Tusi, whether it be Al-Batni, whether it's Al-Zarqali or Al-Farghani or Al-Tusi or Al-Sufi, never of them, none of them have said, stop sighting the moon. They are the ones who gave us the parameters for astronomical calculations. But none of them have said, stop sighting the moon. So you will ask me the question, who actually gave us this idea? So if any honorable scholar stands up here in Bristol or Birmingham or London or Manchester and says, stop sighting the moon, just follow astronomical calculations, I want you to ask him, her, or whatever they may be, where has this idea emerged from? Because brothers, you should ask me this question, who was this first person who gave this idea? And the first person in the entire Islamic history who gave this idea that abandon moon sighting and follow astronomical calculations was a general under the Fatimid period in Cairo named General Johar. And he was the first person in the entire Islamic history. And brothers, if you want to read about what General Johar did, please look at the New Encyclopedia of Islam, page number, and I'll give you a reference, page number 108 to 109. He's the first person who instituted this idea in the Islamic world, abandon moon sighting and follow astronomical calculations. And then what happened? And then the Qazi who opposed him was put to death, was sentenced to death. School of Oriental and African Studies, documented, volume number 24, 2021. If somebody wants a copy, I am more than happy to give them this copy. So the idea floating in Bristol, and I'll wrap up, emerges not from the four schools of thought, not from the astronomers. It emerges from General Johar. So it is up to you whether you want to follow the classical fiqh scholars, the astronomers, or do you want to follow General Johar. I end on this, and I once again thank the audience. I can carry on talking for ages, but I just want to say that we need to come close to the teachings of Qur'an and Sunnah, and those scholars and those astronomers who gave this wealth of information to mankind. And I want to end by the saying of Dr. Allama Iqbal, because when I read about the astronomers and when I read about the contributions they made to Western society and to the discipline of astronomy, I have to say, मगर वो इल्म के मोती किताबें अपनी आबा की जो देखें यूरोप के अंदर तो दिल होता है सिपारा।